That's not the game audio that we're hearing. It's just the background music. Let's go! No matter what, if you enjoy it, that's why I tell everybody fighting games are hard. Because it's not a way to discourage you from the game. It's a way to let you know that it is hard. But the one thing I always say is when you learn how to play fighting games, nothing will be more rewarding. Right? But you have to expect to put in the time and the work to learn the fighting game, honestly. And by letting you know it's hard, you're able to extract the enjoyment out of it. If you go into it thinking that fighting games are supposed to be easy and then you get cooked, you're going to be like, what the hell? But if I tell you that fighting games are hard and you go into it knowing that it's going to be hard, and then that way you can enjoy, and then you have that expectation, it's different. The reason why I tell people fighting games are hard is because I want people to have that expectation that it's going to be hard. They're having trouble with the game audio, I'm guessing, right now. Zedler, actually, that's probably pretty true. Oh, it's the same on the Red Bull stream? Okay, got it, okay. But yeah, that's the whole nature of fighting games. So the thing about it is, Guilty Gear, the best thing about Guilty Gear Strive, I'll tell you right now, is that this game makes you feel good. When you punch people in the walls and break them, or when you hit them and you see the big counter messages and stuff like that, you feel good. This game makes you feel good. So that's going to be one of the nicest ways to keep you into the game. Is Ino hard to learn? She's probably a little bit harder to learn than some of the other characters because you're going to really have to learn how to finesse her offense, and you're going to have to learn how to do her dive attack cancel, bounce cancels and stuff. So it's going to be tough. It'll be work. But to be honest with you, like I said, if you enjoy the game, if you're having fun, it's totally worth it, dude. It's totally worth it. Tough Love Arena can be a good game to learn as well. But again, you know, it'll teach you a lot of some concepts of fighting games. And shout outs to Axe 2020 for the follow. But Tough Love Arena also still skimps on a lot of very common fighting game concepts. It's one of the reasons why I like Samurai Showdown as a teacher, because it has left-right mix-ups, it has high-low mix-ups, you know, it teaches you a lot of consequence. It's one of the best games in teaching you not to mash buttons all over the place. You really have to learn how to be careful, because the thing about fighting games is they're antithetical to everything that you want to do in video games. In every video game that you play, if you play a racing game, what are you doing? You're holding the acceleration button. If you're playing League of Legends, you're right-clicking and moving everywhere you're going. If you're playing a platformer, you're jumping everywhere. If you're playing a first-person shooter, you're clicking the button to shoot at everything. When you play fighting games, you can't hit buttons. You don't want to hit buttons, and most people, when they learn fighting games, they play it like actual fighting where they flail. They do this thing. So you're hitting buttons all day in fighting games, and that's the first way you're going to die. Like that's the express ticket to losing. In fact, fighting games, I've often talked about the concept of the economy of buttons. The economy of buttons, I describe it as if you had to spend $1 every time you hit a button, you're going to want to make sure you spend as little money as possible. And so you want to make sure every time you hit a button, there's a reason and it counts. That's what you have to do in fighting games. If you see someone whiffing a jab from across the screen, they're not just hitting buttons because they feel like hitting buttons. They're hitting it because they're trying to fake the opponent. They're trying to mask what they're actually trying to do. Maybe they're trying to check a dash, potentially, but they almost never hit a button for no reason at all. If I ask you why you hit this button and you said, I felt like it, then you shouldn't have hit the button. And that's the tricky thing. Every video game, whatever the primary action is, you do it all the time. But in fighting games, the primary action, you have to be as patient as possible. In a fighting game where your goal is to hit the other guy and do damage, you want to hit buttons as little as possible. It's so backwards. Yeah, Duo 11, I use Dark Souls as a means to teach fighting games all the time. I taught a friend how to play fighting games because she accidentally talked smack to some other dude about fighting games. And then she was like, I don't know how to play fighting games. And so she hit me up. She's like, James, teach me fighting games. And she's a big Dark Souls fan. And so I taught her how to play fighting games like Dark Souls. And she ended up beating her friend. And I was so proud of myself. Yeah, let's go. I didn't even see how Lost Soul won his first match. Yeah, Leffen is doing a great job with the mix-ups right now, for sure. And again, that's Millia's design. And again, that's one of the hardest things about Anji is that, you know, Anji was an Oki character in the previous games. His whole goal was to knock you down and drop a butterfly projectile on you. He can't do that in this game as easily. They only come from very specific scenarios that he gets the butterfly mix-up. So now that he's lost a lot of his Oki opportunities, it's hard to figure out exactly what Anji is supposed to do. So, curious to see how Lost Soul plays this character. Good defense so far. Sad music. No, I'm just kidding. I expect this to go into at just any moment now, basically. It's got to go into the rock. Ugh, God. Yeah, right now Leffen is doing some sick-ass mix-ups. He is maximizing every single one of his knockdowns into the Oki. Yeah, so he is looking really strong right now, and that is exactly what Millia wants to do. So gets the cross-up. Which side? So every time he does that, he has the option to air dash to the other side of you, to just do nothing, land, and actually just hit you low on the same side. Go from the air on the same side. You've got so many options, and that's what makes him scary. Now, right there, actually, Lost Soul missed the opportunity for the butterfly mix-up. If you end with the uppercut with Anji, it's actually a hard knockdown. They can't do the quick rise on it. So if you're near the corner and you get that uppercut, you get the mix-up. You get to throw the butterfly and actually do the mix-up. Nice. There we go. Gets the air throw. Yeah, and the hard thing about it is you can use Dark Souls to teach, but the hardest part is that what makes it hard is one of the things that I always say about fighting games is that you always have to remember you're playing a two-player game. Because if you're playing Dark Souls and you have trouble beating the evil skeleton, you can be like, well, how do you beat it? Well, usually there's almost always an answer on how to beat the skeleton, right? There's always going to be like, yeah, so here's the best tactic. Dodge this attack, run around, stab it in the back, right? The trickiest thing about fighting games is there are no right answers because you're always playing another human being. So if this is how you counter an option, so if you have the answer to counter an option, the opponent has the ability to change what they do to counter your counter. So all of a sudden the right answer becomes the wrong answer. Because in fighting games, there's never a right answer. As I always say on these beginner streams, if there is an answer to how to defeat a certain tactic in a fighting game, then that tactic is useless and the opponent should never be using it. If there is an answer on how to escape a situation, that means that tactic is useless and it should never be used. The nature of fighting games is that there is always a little bit of a triangle mix-up, that if you have an answer, they'll have an answer to your answer, so that you have to switch to another answer to answer that answer to your answer, but then they can switch to an answer to answer your answer to that answer to your answer, basically. And that's the nature of fighting games. So when someone asks, how do I get out of blah situation, if I can give you an answer, it is a bad fighting game. And that's the whole trick to fighting games, right? You have to be able to understand that whatever you do, your opponent can mess you up for doing it. And so you have to understand, when you play someone else, you have to be guessing what they're gonna do every time based off of the current situation. Ow, that was disgusting. But that is the nature of fighting games, right? That's always how fighting games work, and it's hard. It is very hard to learn that. It's a best of 7, as you can see on the screen, right under the timer. What side? God, that's so gross, man. Ugh. Oh, he got the far sweep. That actually leads into the butterfly, but he keeps doing the juggle. God, far be it for me to actually try to give Lost Soul any advice, because Lost Soul is one of the best Guilty Gear players of all time, but... Well, here we go, the mix-up. Burst out of there. Nice. I'm sorry, not burst, but defensive RC. Yellow RC'd out of there. YRC now means something different, which of course isn't confusing at all, but welcome to the world of video games and fighting games. There we go. Goes for the pressure. Nice. Okay. Look at this damage through the wall. Pow! I haven't seen Lost Soul use the counter super at all. Counter super would actually be really useful in some of those Millia mix-ups, I think. No, it won't be best of 7. That's not going to be the tournament standard at all. Best of 5? Very likely. Might be the standard, because some of these rounds go super fast. But in general, I think it will be, I'm suspecting it'll be best of 5, or I've actually seen this a lot at arcades like Acho Arcade, which is famous for Guilty Gear play, that they'll set the rounds to 3 out of 5. So I think this game is either going to be 3 out of 5 games or 2 out of 3 with 3 out of 5 rounds. Who knows what the standard will be? We'll see how it goes. Obviously, the factor is like how burst feels. Does burst feel good in 3 out of 5, or does it feel better in 2 out of 3, etc., etc. Yeah, I think 3 out of 5 rounds, 2 out of 3 games would actually be pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, that just depends on the venue, Duo 11. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they do actually give it so it's 3 out of 5 like that, rounds. So that whole thing, Anji has the ability to cancel the Fujin, which is where he dashes forward and attacks with the green thing. And he can... God, that double air dash from Millia is gross. But he has the ability to do that and cancel into a hop forward, into jumping up and throw daggers down and basically be plus, or a low, or an overhead. But the low and the overhead can be punished. So you have to be careful using those options right there. So that was the Fujin right there, where you saw him lunge forward with the green. God, that's a command dash from Millia. So you can cancel and just do a command dash and go for the throw in that situation. Oh, reset with the overhead. He might be able to kill. Yeah, there it is. Khalib, I mean, one of the nice things about this game is that the netcode is really, really strong. But that's what the Discord and all this other stuff now is for. Now, I am not a huge fan of Discord. I'm not a huge believer in the organizational abilities of Discord. But having said that, it's still one of the best ways to get into a community and stuff like that. I believe the overhead in this game, it's unsafe. I'm pretty sure the overhead is unsafe in this game. Oh, look at this. Lost Soul getting in here. Yeah, this is US versus Sweden. It's New York versus Sweden, but seems to be working pretty decent right now. 2 rollback frames. 2 rollback frames, US to Sweden. That's so good. That's so good. Oh, bless the rollback. Bless the rollback. Oh, it's so good. I know sometimes it can be weird to hear me speak so fondly and highly of like everything, but I mean, again, I'm just a fighting game fan. I want everything to succeed, so I'm so happy about this, and I really want... I mean, what's interesting is that Tubo is a big, big KI fan, and he says the netcode is actually better in Guilty Gear than it is in KI. Yeah. There's definitely probably a way to RC it and stuff. And the nice thing about it is you can also probably RC drift backwards to make it even safer and stuff. Fox Step, this is Red Bull Kumite. We will actually be getting Street Fighter tournaments and stuff. Right now, this is just a Guilty Gear exhibition. They are playing online, but the Street Fighter stuff will be local. They will be offline, and all the players are indeed in London. There was the 6P right there, which he actually used. That's kind of an option select that I've seen Kizzy use, to use the 6P in one direction and then hopefully just jab him out in the other one. And actually, yeah, he's starting to realize now he can jump out of a lot of those Millia setups, because you can actually, and that's really important as well. And look at this, Lost Soul making the adjustments on Leffen here. And look at that. At first it looked like Leffen was going to run away with this, but Lost Soul is here. Oh yeah, I can see the frames, but I can't see the ping. But yeah, 2 frames of rollback, that's amazing. So that should have been punished right there. That little low attack should be punished. Oh, that was nice. Okay, so here we go. Gonna go for the knockdown. But again, back to neutral. Strive is very centralized, is very conceptually centered around the concept of throwing everything back into neutral a lot of the times. While Guilty Gear in the past has been a very, very vortex-heavy game, they are doing a very intentional design here to make sure that that is not the case here for Guilty Gear. Oh God, he went for the dust. That's what that was. And Lost Soul is gonna end up taking it. There you go. But wow, it looked like Leffen was gonna run away with it at first. But again, Guilty Gear Strive is designed intentionally to not be a very vortexy game, and I think that that's a worthy cause. You know, it's not what we know from Guilty Gear, because Guilty Gear has always been super vortex heavy. Vortex being knockdown into mix-up into the same mix-up. Well, I should be knockdown into mix-up, and if your mix-up lands, you get a knockdown into a mix-up, and if that mix-up lands, you get a knockdown into that mix-up. That's generally what we mean by vortex. And Guilty Gear has always been very vortex heavy, but they're trying to remove that from Strive, and it's a very conscious decision. Vortex is the name of one of Soul's special moves. Dang. Okay. Good to know. Good to know.